Hi everyone and welcome to my Game Week 13 transfer plans. In this video, I've got a list of players you're going to want to consider bringing into your team. The FPL landscape has changed since the international break, and with the busy Christmas period coming up, you're going to want to look at these players and bring some of them in. Also in this video, I've got players that you might have in your team that are becoming a huge problem. You're going to want to get rid of them. I give you the individual and team stats to help you make that decision. Now, if this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Erling Haaland has become a huge talking point for us FPL managers. And the reason is, he costs so much money. When he's returning, we can accept it. But when he's not returning like the recent game weeks, it's a problem for us. And we need to discuss whether we should get rid of him or we should keep him. Now, when you look, it says he's returning 7 points per match, but that's an average. And when you include the start of his season, it makes sense because the last 6 game weeks, he's not been doing the business and it's nowhere near 7 points per game. Now, I've got a chart later on for you, which is going to help explain whether he's been unlucky or been a terrible finisher. We'll have a look at that later on. For now, have a look at his upcoming fixtures. Now, I've coloured them accordingly, but in reality, when Manchester City are on it, every fixture is green for them. They're that good. But at the moment, Liverpool away at Anfield doesn't look good for them. They've been struggling badly, and I can't see them beating Liverpool at Anfield. After that, Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Manchester United, the fixtures are a mixed bag. When you look at the last 6 game weeks, you understand why it's a big talking point and why it's even more difficult to sell him from our teams. Now, I'm one of the managers that kept faith. You're going to find out in this video whether I keep faith or do I sell him. The reason being is, look at the XG, just for example, in the last 4 game weeks. Just have a quick little glance. This is a goal scoring machine who recently, whether it's bad luck, poor finishing, or the goalkeeper is just having an incredible game. Combination of all 3 perhaps. But the point I'm getting at, this is not someone who's not getting no chances. That's normally the biggest worry for an attacking player. This is someone who is getting chances. Even in a poor performing Manchester City team, he's getting chances. Against Spurs, he had chances. So it makes it difficult because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, if I get rid of him, it's a matter of time before the braces and hat-tricks come. I mean, even Pep said in his press conference, he will be scoring braces and hat-tricks in a single game again very soon. And I was like, oh. Let's have a look at the next graphic, which discusses his XG. And I've called it XG Wars. The reason being is, I've got the 4 premiums here. I've got the XG they've created from game week 12 to game week 8, but I've also got the points beside it. Now, normally there's a correlation. Your XG is pretty good, your points pretty good. They return, there's a correlation. Recently, Haaland's not been following the rules here. When you have a look, for example, I've coloured the green would be who had the best XG for that game week, and the yellow who had the best points return. So let's have a look at game week 12. Salah, 1.84, no problem. He done it against Southampton. It's very inflated, the XG, because of the penalty, but you got the 13 points. Look at Saka with only a 0.28 over 13 points. That's a slight hint that what can happen in football, that you have maybe half a chance and you get the points. But normally you want the higher XG because that means you're getting the big chances, and that's what you want for your attacker. Now, game week 11, Haaland steps up 1.38. He returned 5 points. Now, some of this is his own doing. This was the game where he got the yellow card, I think, in around the 97th minute or something silly like that. Well, gave him a yellow card, so that was a -1, which is 2 points if you're captain. And I think he lost 2 bonus points. So some of that was his own doing, but still, look at the XG, compare it to Salah's 0.78, Salah returned a 14-pointer. Now here you can start telling me whether this is luck or variance, what some people like to call it. What is actually happening here? Because Haaland's still producing the XG, but the points are not returning. Game week 10, Haaland again was the best in XG, 0.88, he returned 2 points. Now look at Salah, 0.53, 9 points. Game week 9, look at... This XG is actually hilarious. 2.33, he returned 6 points. And then Palmer, maybe I hope I've written that wrong, 0.05. And Salah with 0.38, both on 10 points. Even Saka on 0.23, 9 points. Now, surely that's very unlucky for Haaland owners. That was the week where he should have returned a 15-pointer. And lastly, game week 8, Haaland only got, I thought I wrote that wrong as well, 0.00 XG. Crazy. That's a rare sight, that is. So definitely take a screenshot of that. And Salah of 0.8, the correlation there was correct. Highest XG with the highest points. There it sort of makes sense, or FPL managers sort of accept that. The point I'm getting at here, Haaland's been done very, very hard. The owners who stood by him have been punished harshly. Now, I'm not saying there always has to be a correlation or that other players with less XG can't match him and stuff. I'm not saying that at all. But I think the difference in the points has been huge. That's for me what I take from this. There's a lot of luck involved in these last 4-5 game weeks when you look at Haaland owners. Now, the people that have already sold him and gone to Salah and moved their money around, fair play. That's not putting a downer on their move. It was still an excellent move. They looked at Manchester City, they looked at Haaland and the fixtures, and they anticipated a difficult ride. And you could argue they've got some of that right, but you also have to admit that XG and those points don't make sense. Very, very unlucky Haaland owners. So anyway, taking all of that into consideration, I've had a real good think, and I'm really struggling for me to keep hold of him. I really am, especially with Liverpool up next, who is the best defense in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest after that, who again are very good defensively. I know Arsenal have just torn them apart 3-0. That was a confident Arsenal, unlike this Manchester City here, who look on the ropes. So from my perspective, I'm going to say he's a sell. You let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, or you think I should keep faith, or if you're an owner of Haaland, are you keeping faith? Are you selling? Get in the comments and let me know. The next player we're going to talk about is David Raya. Yes, I've actually got a goalkeeper in the video, and there's actual reasons for this. Now, David Raya is 5.5 million. He's $1 million more than we like to spend on a goalkeeper. But if I take it like me, who's potentially selling Haaland this game week, you're going to have the money in your pockets. Now, what do we do with that? Yes, we need to improve the rest of our squad. Goalkeepers and clean sheets have been a huge problem for us this season in FPL. But Arsenal, I can see them now starting to keep clean sheets. They've already started. They've done it against Nottingham Forest. You saw how strong they were defensively. And then look at the upcoming fixtures. Now, all of those greens should make you smile. West Ham away, Manchester United, Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace, Ipswich. Good fixtures. I anticipate at least 3 cleans from those 6 fixtures, maybe even 4. Now, David Raya is still highly owned. A lot of people started the season with him, so he's still 28% owned. But I think that number's going to increase. And the reason I say this is, most people have one Arsenal defender, whether it's Gabriel or Saliba. If Arsenal start keeping clean sheets, you're not going to make a lot of gains. If you've got a double up though, you do make gains. And like I said a minute ago, we can see with those fixtures, clean sheets are around the corner. When you look at the predicted points, they might not look the most exciting. 3.8s and 4.27s and stuff like that. But the reality is 2 or 3 clean sheets and you know the 6 points is locked in. Now you might say to me, Timber's available at the moment for 5.5 million and he's an outfield player, more potential to get an assist or an attacking return. Yes, totally agree. But the reality is, I'm still not 100% certain he plays every game. I know Benjamin White is out injured, and that gives him high probability. But still, with Arteta and the amount of games coming up at the moment, there's no more rest now. Basically, 3 games a week until come the new year. So you have to consider that. Where goalkeepers, you've got the peace of mind. And the way this season is going, especially for me, I can't have too many of these headache plays in my team. So it's up to you if your risk appetite. If you want to save a little bit of money or you want the potential of more attacking returns, of course you can go Timber, who's an excellent player. But if you want the peace of mind, and especially with the other goalkeepers all struggling, David Raya is an excellent choice. And an example of what Arsenal are capable of is take a look at this graphic which I took from this weekend's game. Now, look at the XG. Arsenal's obviously 1.19 and Nottingham Forest is 0.33. They've kept them under control. Now, the big chances, so I've highlighted the areas I want to talk about. Look at the big chances. Nottingham Forest, none. No. Arsenal, when they're on it, you're not having no fun. Look at the total shots. 19-7. But the key one is, look how many goalkeeper saves Raya had to make. 0. Now, you might look at this as, well, where's it going to be the save points? I totally agree. You might not get the save points here with Raya, but I did say clean sheets is what it's about when you're picking a goalkeeper here. It's unlikely you can count on goalkeeping saves to get you the points. You need the clean sheets, and Raya is going to be in the prime position. And look at the corner kicks, 1 corner for Nottingham Forest. The point I'm getting at, Nottingham Forest have been flying this season. Arsenal let them have no fun. Raya's clean sheet looks pretty comfortable, and I can see this happening to a lot of these opponents coming up in the next 6. So that's the reason for me, I really like Raya, and I'm considering bringing him in. Once I start making savings, if I sell Haaland and the money's in the bank, 100% he will be in contention for me. So for me, Raya is a buy. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. Next player we need to discuss is João Pedro. Now, he's just come back from injury and he's caught our attention. We all owned him at the start of the season because we all thought he was underpriced. We predicted Brighton would still be strong this season, even with the change of management. And guess what? Those things have come together. He's returning at 7 points per game. He's 5.6 million, so cheap. He's just gone up actually, just had a raise after this weekend, which makes sense. He's still only 11% owned, so very, very good. Still a differential. Not everyone in your mini league is going to have it. I mean, I'm not sure how long that's going to last for, but he's still lonely owned. Now, look at the upcoming fixtures. Just look at them. Southampton, Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Brentford. Gorgeous fixtures, especially for attackers. And when you consider he's just come back from injury, have a look at the minutes. He's only played 25 minutes and 63 minutes, yet returned 11 and 12 points respectively. That's incredible. For a player that only costs 5.6 million, and I'm going to mention he takes penalties as well. These goals that he's returned, there's not even a cheap penalty there. These are goals in open play. Very, very effective, an excellent player. It's a shame we lost out on him because of injury, but it is what it is. He's back now. He had a 2-week international break. He didn't travel Brazil, so he got to train and get his fitness. And it looks like now the minutes are going to be ramped up, so it won't be long before he's near 80, 90 minutes. This, plus the combination of how well Brighton have started this season, that's something we definitely need to consider when we're looking at players like Pedro. Now, Brighton are 5th in the Premier League, equal on points with the 3rd place Chelsea and 4th place Arsenal. That's unreal. It tells you how well they're doing. Since the beginning of October, only Liverpool have got more points than them in the Premier League. Brighton's 13 points they've got. It's Brighton's best start to a top flight campaign with 22 points from 12 games. I'm telling you, they're flying. And Brighton are unbeaten in 6 league home games, including teams like Manchester City, Tottenham, and Manchester United. This tells you how strong they are at the Amex, but they're also not bad away. I mean, when you consider all of these things, this one's a pretty easy one for me to tell you to get your money and go and buy him. Let me know in the comments if you already bought him or you're planning to bring him in the next game week. I need to know, but surely he's going to be in most of the teams in my mini league. Oops, just wait. I've been telling you in this video to spend your money, buy this player, sell this player. But a reminder, we have midweek fixtures and it's a full-on agenda. Just have a look. All the big teams, Arsenal, Villa, Manchester City, Liverpool. We have players from these teams and they could get injuries, or you're going to get more information regarding minutes for the upcoming weekend. So please, if you can wait, make sure you wait. Hold up. Keep watching the video. I've got more players for you, but definitely wait. Don't spend the money just yet. The next player we're going to talk about is Nicholas Jackson. Well, it's only right we talk about another striker, because if you're selling Haaland, we're going to want to bring in another centre forward. Last week in the video, I spoke about Isaac, and he's still a perfect pick. But this is another player at a nice price range at 7.9 million, currently returning at 6 points per game, which is pretty good to me. Fixtures are looking really, really nice. Aston Villa, Southampton, Tottenham, Brentford, Everton, and Fulham. Out of those 6, maybe 2 of them are a bit tricky. The 4 are perfect for him. Chelsea are a team that's improving. Maresca has got the midfield and attack spot on. They're starting to play. He knows his team. You're starting to see the patterns now. Same 11 are starting week in, week out unless there's injury. And Nicholas Jackson is pivotal to that team now. At the start of the season, there were some question marks. I remember speaking in the video saying that he's a midfielder's dream, and I think he will start. They've got loads of attacking talent, but none of them can do what he does. He's such a strong runner. He runs those channels, giving a midfield an easy option when they get pressed. None of the other forwards can do it like he can. Honestly, he's been excellent from that perspective, but now he's starting to add the goals to his game. So that's the reason he had to be in the video and someone I need to consider. When you look at the last 6 game weeks, he's had 3 returns with 1 double digit. It's not too bad at all. And Chelsea, as I said, they're improving attacking wise. Add that with the fixtures, like I said a minute ago, this is a player without a doubt that needs to be on your radar. Let's have a look at some pros and cons. The first pro is good minutes. I've already said to you, Maresca trusts him and he is 100% the number 9. I don't see that changing any minute. Unless he's injured, he's definitely starting and plays the majority of the minutes. The next point is Chelsea's attacking stats. They're improving. When you look at their touches in the box, the amount of shots, the shots per minute, they're all good. Chelsea as an attacking unit are getting better game by game. Thirdly, like I touched on earlier on, the fixtures are lovely, especially for an attacker. I fancy him returning in 50% of those games. And the last pro is he's a manager favourite, like I touched on earlier on. None of the other forwards can do what he does. Maresca already knows that, hence why he plays every game. Now, the 2 cons I could think of, he's on 4 yellows, which means when he gets the next yellow, you're going to have him on the bench. You're not going to want to sell him, but he's going to be suspended for 1 game, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. And lastly, there's alternatives. I touched on at the start saying there's so many attackers this season, whether you go up to Watkins or Isaac, or you go down to Wood, Cunha, Welbeck. There's just so many players this season in attack, whether you're confident enough with the things I've shown you in this video to take the punt on him. For me, the more I watch him week in, week out, the more I'm convinced he's a perfect replacement for Haaland. I'm going to say bye. Let me know in the comments what you think. And the last player we're going to discuss in this video is Rico Lewis. Yes, I know he's only 4.8 million, practically fodder. We can easily bench him. But the reality is, a lot of us rely on him to start. I mean, he's still 13% owned, so it tells you how many of us managers had faith in him. We thought it was a cheap way into this Manchester City defense. It started off okay, but it's turned really, really bad. Now, the fixtures, like I spoke earlier on when we was discussing Haaland, they're a mixed bag. Normally, they'd be all green if City are on it, but at the moment, they're not that great the way City are playing. Lewis is returning at 2.7 points per match. That's horrid. And for me, that's someone that we need to look at getting rid of. Unless you've got loads of issues in your team, other fires to fight, this is someone that you need to look at. There's other players that are 4.5 million, maybe even 4 million, that are outperforming him. When you look at, he's had 2 returns, and that's being polite. One of those returns in game week 7 was a 4-pointer, being very, very poor. In fact, I know he's a young player. He's actually had a pretty poor season. He's not been good at all. One of the main reasons why City are struggling. Not just him, before anyone comes at me, not just him, but he has been poor, underperforming, really struggling. Before, he looks good in a solid team, which makes sense. Youngsters always need to be introduced to a team that's performing. Very rare you ever bring in a youngster in a team that's struggling. It just destroys their confidence. They don't have the experience to be able to deal with a situation like that where everything's going wrong. When you've got experienced players, they've been there before, they know what to do. So it's not really his fault, but he is one of the reasons why they're struggling. But the main reasons why they're struggling is, have a look at this. Manchester City have just been disgraceful recently, and there's multiple reasons. And just have a look at some of these stats I'm going to read off for you regarding Manchester City. This is the first time Manchester City have lost 3 successive Premier League games under Guardiola. I mean, he's a machine. He's been here, 9 years, coming up to 10. He hasn't lost 3 games in a row. That tells you his standards and Manchester City's standards. Manchester City are the first reigning champions to lose 5 games in a row in all competitions since Chelsea in March 1956. Now, that's a grim record to equal. Not good at all. City's current run is the longest losing streak of Guardiola's managerial career, and their worst since 2006 under Stuart Pearce. And the last thing I'll read is Manchester City have only kept 2 clean sheets this season, game week 1 against Chelsea and game week 9 against Southampton. That's how poor. We're in game week 13 now. 2 clean sheets. Nowhere near good enough. And he is blocking us from playing the other players, because at times you start doubting yourself. You're thinking, it's a Manchester City defender. He's going to start. Maybe there's a clean sheet. Well, the reality is we've not been close to getting a clean sheet. So when you take all of that into consideration, I'm going to say this to you. If you don't have no other fires to fight, sell him. He's an easy sell. But of course, if you've got more urgent things, more expensive players causing you problems, deal with those first and you can come back to him. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Do me a favor, get in the comments and let me know if you're bringing in any of these players or if you're selling any of these players. If not, let me know who you are bringing in. I'm intrigued to know what other FPL managers are doing. Before you jump off to the next video, do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers and I can only do that with your help. And the last thing for me to say is good luck, and I'll see you on my next video.